Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to recap the 2024 IBJJF Crown. As always in the show, I'm your host, Mange, my co-host,
Josh.
How you doing, Josh?
Okay.
We're doing pretty good. Full disclosure, we are recording this on a Sunday night. Last week we previewed Main Character, we previewed ADXC. Both events are still happening. The Crown ended about 30 minutes ago. So we are just going to recap that because...
Like an hour ago, but yeah.
Because, Josh, you're ruining the immersion we're getting here. Because with the way that recording worked this week, with Miranda being out, Josh is filling in. Josh has a family and a work life, and Sundays are the days that work. So we are here. So we just have the Crown to talk about. Really no previews. It has been a very fight-filled weekend for me. I watched Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. Probably don't have time to talk about that. Not really the focus of our show.
Fell asleep.
And then also got to watch John Jones knock out Stipe, which made me sad, made me happy in different ways.
Fell asleep. Also didn't care.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. Big news this week for the not IBJJF, the other
UFC?
one for the UFC. Is that we have Mikey Musumeci taking on Felipe Machado on the Fight Pass Invitational. Mikey Musumeci has now signed what we think is an exclusive deal with UFC Fight Pass.
As far as from what I've seen, yeah, he's the first person to have an exclusive contract with them.
I hope that he is making bank. So it's kind of interesting, Mikey's not trajectory, but like Mikey talked about, he had a good podcast with Demetrius Johnson a couple of months ago, basically talking about talking about the sport of jiu-jitsu and talking about how everyone is kind of giving him shit for going and leaving and making that money. And then CJI comes out and everyone's like, I'm going to go make the money. And he's like, yeah, man, that's what I did. That's why I signed with One, because they were going to pay me a bunch of money. Go chase the money. That's what I was doing. We talked about him and Cade Bertolo and One FC and sort of the falling out and the being cut by One FC a couple of weeks ago on that show.
Was he actually cut though, or was it like
released?
Did he ask for it? That's the real question.
So we don't really know, because One FC's contracts are notoriously like very secretive, because they're out of Singapore and there's kind of different business laws there for other stuff. But it's a contract.
They're shady
a little bit. But overall, we don't really know the whole situation. We know that he was the champion, essentially due to an opponent change, and then because he wanted to defend, or One wanted, we don't really know, wanted to defend the belt.
According to him, and I'm assuming they were like, you have to post this so it doesn't make us look bad, but he wanted to fight still at that weight.
Well, he wanted to defend his belt, which we talked about, like there's a championship clause maybe or whatnot. But it involved him cutting like a huge amount more weight. He couldn't make the weight. As a result, he missed the weight for the new contract weight that was like 20 or 30 pounds below what he was going to fight Cade at. And then he was stripped of his belt as a result, and then now has left One FC. But he is signing with UFC Fight Pass, and I hope he makes a bunch of money, because that's sort of Josh and I, when we started the show, that's what we talk about. We talk about tournaments that pay athletes money, and that's sort of the focus of the show. We want to talk about athletes getting paid. Mikey's hopefully going to get paid here. Felipe Machado is actually a really interesting match, really, really good, not necessarily up and comer, but like new, like more recent on the radar than Mikey.
Newer.
I think he has a fun game. I think honestly they'll match up in a really interesting way. Under the UFC Fight Pass rules, I don't know exactly what rules UFC Fight Pass is using. They've modified their rules back and forth. I generally think the production value, it's them,
the production
and
value
Polaris
is great,
are like two of the best produced events that we get a chance to cover.
That's on Fight Pass though, right?
Yeah, all the Fight Pass events are usually produced very, very well. So if we get to see Mikey again in One, it was produced phenomenally well. We got to see great matches. If we see him continue to make lots of money for fighting for UFC Fight Pass versus good guys like Felipe Machado, man, I'm all for it.
I just hope he's more active. Like he's or not more, but consistently active.
I would love to see him have matchups like on every, if he's an exclusive athlete, I would love to see him every UFC Fight Pass card. Like he's one of the guys that I will again, I flew to Denver to watch him compete, him and Mighty Mouse compete. Like I flew to that card to cross the country.
Did you really go for Mighty Mouse, or did you go for Mikey?
I went for Mighty Mouse. I went for Demetrius Johnson. Yeah, because it was actually his last fight. And I was like, I think this would be his last fight. And then it was, and I was like, hell yeah. But I was like, now when we found out that Ty and that Mikey were both on the card, like I was amped and ecstatic for it. Like I really like his game. He's a fun athlete to watch. He's a fun athlete to cover. we have not seen him compete super frequently. Again, he's been making that money, which I would much rather see him go and make a lot more money, and unfortunately, as a fan, see him less versus like every week on the IBJJF grind, not making any money and doing it at his expense. I'd much rather, one is a framework for an athlete to like go and have a career, a successful like monetary career. One is like an amateur athlete going out and trying to grind out wins to go open a school. Like I'd rather see Mikey be a professional athlete because I think that's more fun.
He won Worlds, so he gets to compete for free. It's flying on his dime.
A bad example because he won Worlds.
But yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's just, get paid. Like if your job is to do jiu-jitsu, do things that give you money. Mm-hmm. Like,
this is like a rehashing of things we've done on the show for years.
Why pay for something when you get invited to things and you get paid for them, and you get your flight taken care of, your hotel taken care of, whatever. Like, get paid. Mm-hmm. Do it.
So, that's the only bit of news I think I have this week. We talked last week about Marcelo Garcia signing with ONE FC. Again, we don't really have any more information on his opponent.
Apparently, it was like a financial thing, according to one random article that I briefly read.
It was a financial thing that they couldn't find an opponent, or
no, that he signed with ONE.
Oh yeah, hope he makes a bunch of money. We do have a matchup though. We have Shinya Aoki taking on Dante Leon, or was it Cole?
Cole.
Okay, that is certainly a match. Again, I think it's a leader for both those guys. I think Shinya's again a veteran and fun to watch. I like watching Aoki fight. I like watching him grapple. A little bit past where he was in his peak versus two guys that are very much entering their peak and at their peak in Leon. It will be
Abate.
Oh yeah, I'll watch.
I'll watch, but he's gonna get smoked.
Abate's really good, man. We also have
Aoki now.
What?
Aoki's almost 40 at this point, right?
He has to be, yeah. He's fighting in Dream, fighting in Pride. So we also have Kainan Duarte versus Roberto Jimenez that look like they are headlining the heavyweight Who's Number 125 card happening in December as well. We'll talk about this match when we get closer to it, Josh. I think we're all picking Duarte pretty handedly here.
So here's the thing, like, no offense to Roberto, like, this is a great competitor, but
fantastic competitor.
Why?
It is an interesting...
It's an interesting choice
from a rankings
matchup,
perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It makes no sense.
And that's like, I wish, like, especially because Who's Number One is mostly designed and kind of marketed as a rankings event. It is a tough sell for me from the rankings perspective. It's a fun match. I'm super happy. Like, Roberto brings a really interesting game to that. But I think from a rankings perspective, it's like Kainan's number one. Roberto is not number two. So
is he even top 10?
He probably is top 10 there in the feeder. In the feeder for Who's Number One for their system, probably. But still, it's like no, it's not updated. It's not. It's not.
Bring it up anyway.
They never update it. Okay,
bring it up anyway.
We're gonna go here to Flo into their rankings to bring it up here. Flo's rankings were updated November. ADCC Open rankings. The Nogi rankings were updated November 4th of 2024.
That was a couple weeks ago.
And we have.
Where is he?
He's
not.
He is unranked currently. It is Gordon, Cade Bertolo.
That's pound for pound. Go to heavyweight.
We'll go to heavyweight here. We'll go to men's 205 plus. We have Gordon at number one, Kainan, Felipe Pena, Luke Griffith, Nick Rodriguez, Victor Hugo, Nicholas Margali, Rafael Lovato Jr., Big Dan, Cyborg, Pixley, Josh Saunders, Yuri, Mason Fowler, Roosevelt Souza. So
is he under 205? And by the way,
but you're
having Nick Rodriguez as number 5 on this list, that's silly. I don't think he's number 5. Below Luke Griffith?
Yeah.
Below
so
Pena?
Men's 205. Roberto Jimenez 11. Is ranked 11th at 205. It's an interesting matchup, but again, it'll be fun. I love watching both those guys compete, but it is definitely an interesting matchup from the rankings perspective. So, Josh, that is all the news that I have this week. It might be a shorter show because, again, we just have the Crown. ADXC we'll probably cover next week because that event looks phenomenal. It is not over yet, so we can't recap it.
It's
the same with main character. It is not over yet, so we can't recap it.
I'll tell you where we are on main character right now. I think we just finished like the 185 bracket.
Yeah, Mo Black was up a minute ago. So let's move into the Crown. Josh, I kind of just want to run through a lot of the finals here because we've just watched them. We have some notes on the finals here. We can talk about some of the other matches in the tournament.
Sure, absolutely.
But I want to start with the finals, and then we'll move on from there. Josh, do you have an order that you would like to go?
However you would like to start.
Okay, let's do it with the men's ultra heavyweight. Again, 8 years of they doing this, Josh, and I always forget the IBJJF weight classes for how they have them structured. You know it offhand, but men's ultra heavyweight, we have
that's above 220,
something like that. The big guys.
Yeah.
We had Erich Munis taking on Marcus Ribeiro, Scooby, whatever one calls him. Erich Munis's game. Both guys are very good. I want to caveat that before I go into the.
Don't be negative, Maine.
For years I've given you that, Josh. Don't be positive. Be positive on the show. I love Erich Munis's game. It is very good. He is phenomenal at doing it. We saw a couple of things here that we've seen him do before, but I love that we're seeing more of in this matchup. His ability and his kind of willingness to wrestle up in this match.
His original sweep was just like, he goes from like X to pushing on the higher part of the thigh, and then it literally looks like he just like shifts from being almost flat to like throwing his hip and his butt cheek to like bounce.
He bounces off the mat to get up, to basically go to almost like a dogfight, but then goes up past it and does a full wrestle up to top position.
It was an awesome sweep,
which I love. Like, this is, again, I play a lot of X guard, so I love watching these guys like Munis and like Wardzinski that tend to play more rangy X guard kind of, or like waiter guard games here. Mm-hmm. This was phenomenal because he gets Ribeiro like pushed away in a place where Ribeiro kind of has to come back in, or he just gets pushed over. Yeah. Ribeiro does the right thing, starts to come back in, and Munis does like he's going to do what you call like a crazy roll, or like where you do the roll under when someone pushes back into the dogfight. He almost goes to that position, but he hips down far away and then wrestles up off of it. It was really, to see a guy of his size move like that and have that hip movement, you're like, oh yeah, Erich Munis is a young ultra heavyweight.
Plan B?
Yeah, Plan B. That's what it's called. I knew there was like I originally like a decade ago learned it as a crazy roll, and then like there's actually a name for it. I always forget that we call it Plan B, like the roll underneath.
That's one of the many moves that I call the okey doke.
The okey doke. You do call a lot of moves the okey doke.
Hit him with the old okey doke.
Yeah, but I always know when you yell that in like either in competition or in like in the room. I always know you mean like, yeah, do like the roll, like do any sort of just like roll through with their momentum and weight is what you call an okey doke.
Yeah.
So doesn't have the okey doke. He wrestles up off this, and we see that two different times in this match, and this is inevitably what sort of gives him top position.
We see also Munis's willingness to sit down.
So this is what I was frustrated about, and we've seen it a lot from Munis, like repeatedly over and over again. Is he will like I don't really understand it. I know his guard is good. He has one of the best guards in the world pound for pound.
He's got really good passing too.
He will sweep. He will get up in top position, and then the minute that he has opposition to sit back down or like to get swept, he will sort of very much just accept the sweep to get back to the guard he wants, and then very shortly after, a minute or two, he will resweep, get the points back, and then end up on top and get out. But we saw this in this finals match over and over again where Erich Munis would sweep, he'd get on top in some sort of way, he'd get entangled in Ribeiro's half guard, and then Ribeiro would do something.
Or like a leg lock or something.
He would do anything, and then Munis would immediately go, and sit back down and give 2 points up.
Maybe it's an energy conservation thing. Maybe he doesn't want to burn as much energy passing the guard, and he feels more comfortable just sweeping up. And we saw it time and time again when he just like wrestled up and came into a good position, especially the finishing sequence to where he wrestled up and he came around, and thank goodness that they did not stop it in the process of him making that transition. I would have been supremely pissed.
Basically, Erich Munis comes up to the top position. He turns the corner, and he basically gets to the outside hip on the turtle position. He comes
behind him, and he gets a waist lock. He doesn't even he does not go seatbelt. He goes waist lock. And then the ref's like, all right, stop. And really all he had to do was turn him 180 degrees, and it pushes them towards the center of the mat. You don't have to reset the whole entire position. But of course, they're probably like, well, what happens if he pushes him
For
backwards?
the Crown, I'm honestly like kind of okay. You've done a lot more refereeing than I have, but for the Crown, for this, like, hey man, you have the space. There's one match going on. We are in a very easily recreatable position. Give him the space in the center. Put him back.
You
in the
never
center.
know. People bemoaning.
Yeah. But they restart, and then Erich Munis does actually a really interesting
It's coming up, and he
finish.
He Ezekiel's him. He
does an
reaches
Ezekiel.
through, and it just
We have the worst camera angle for it, which I hate. The camera work for this event was as per usual for the Crown.
Hey, keep it positive.
I'll keep it positive.
We'll keep the
But
complaining
we've bitched
till
about
afterwards.
the Crowns, like how dark it is at the Crown for years now.
Oh
It is
my
just
goodness.
always
They turned off
astonishing.
all the lights.
Just how dark this event is, and how frequently we have finishes where the camera is facing the athlete's back. For a premier IBJJF event, it still always surprises me that it's still like this, and that half the linked videos are in Portuguese.
Maine was definitely old man yells at cloud when that was going on.
Because we talked about it last week.
He was so mad. From like, again, this is a company that pulls in a lot of money, obviously, and it's another company that's doing the production that pulls in a lot of money. A couple of extra lights would be great. Or as Maine was yelling at the television,
turn the venue light on.
Get better cameras.
Get a camera that can deal with a low light. But besides the point, I wish that there was a second camera here so that I could see the finish. It is uncommon to see an Ezekiel finish from the back like this, and Erich Munis does it very high. He's essentially falling off the back like you would do a modified bow and arrow with the knee behind the neck.
Popped it, and
Yeah.
it's just, here we go.
Yes, Josh, I know that he just popped it, but I would love to see the hand position from the front to see where he popped it into the front as he did this fall off from behind.
Hey, Flo, can we get that other opposite camera angle
it would
footage, please, and
it
thank
would
you?
be great. It was a unique finish. Again, the thing that sort of struck me most in this match was the way Erich Munis is willing to go back to guard. We've talked about it in his Worlds runs and like his other matches. It is very odd. Like, most guys will fight tooth and nail to never get swept. It is extremely odd for him to be so willing to accept the re-sweep in the two to come back and do his guard.
He's that confident in his guard that he's not worried about it. And he was up at the time of the end of the match. It was like 8-4.
Yeah.
So it's not like
it didn't make a difference.
It wasn't going to make a difference either
no.
way. But again, he's so confident
It is.
in his ability to put you on your butt when he starts down that he doesn't care. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that would be the reason. Like, all of the Munis brothers, I believe there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
All of them are wizards when it comes to competing in the gi.
Yeah.
They're great, and I'm assuming that is why he's like, whatever. It's like, I'll just sweep you again. I don't care.
But
I'm not worried about it.
If you are newer to jiu-jitsu, this is extremely rare at the top levels for these guys. Like, this is something that you see typically at like lower levels for guys that are unable to win. Like, what you would term for anyone else as like a tactical mistake to be unwilling to do it. These guys make it work, and it is so uniquely interesting to me that he's just willing to do it, and it doesn't affect his win percentage with any regularity at all. It's just super neat. It's a super neat fold.
Used to seeing it at the weight class. Because it happens all the time.
You do see it with like Levi. I was going to bring Levi Jones-Leary, which we kind of will see do the same thing, but it's regardless, it's not common.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
for sure. It's not.
Especially at ultra heavyweight, extremely uncommon for guys to be willing to take the bottom position again. So that was my kind of thoughts on the match. The finish is really cool.
Great match.
Yeah. Anything else on the match?
Nope.
It was unique. The sweep is dope. That double, the kick over and then the hip up sweep, both of them are really unique and really neat. Next one, we have Gabi Pessanha beating Melissa Cueto at women's super heavyweight to take the crown. This is Gabi's,
and not that I don't want to see Gabi compete. I mean, she wins. That's what she does
all the time.
But just don't invite her.
She's the back-to-back.
Like, not as like a thing. Like, give it to somebody else. Because as long as we were having this discussion, she is now like she is the
new Gabi Garcia. Yeah, for that weight class.
But she's more dynamic.
Absolutely, and her guard is just We saw that on display in the finals match. Phenomenal.
She is just this unstoppable force. Like, is it 4 or 5 time? I mean, she's double golded at least 3 times in a row.
She's young. I always forget how many
she's got a
world
lot.
titles that she have. Yeah.
She's
on her way.
If she keeps going, she'll have more than Hajar and Buchecha.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't think that anybody else is going to be able to do that. Like,
no.
And you can say, well, it's like, oh, it's the women's division. It's not as deep. It's not this.
It's deeper than it's ever been.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Consistency is what matters. And if she can do this time and time and time again, like, good on her.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you're just like,
I maybe would like to see different blood at the crown.
I just want to see somebody else. Like, we know it's a foregone conclusion. Like, if I see her
like
name,
bringing Gordon into a no division, like, yeah, man, he's gonna win. Like,
well, I don't know. Like,
well,
his last 2 performances
before the
weren't
Yuri
great.
and Penna match, it'd be kind of like, yeah, he's gonna win. It's neat to see him, but it's like, it's kind of like, I'd almost rather see him in a super fight than see him in a bracket for some of these, because it's like, yeah, he's.
I mean, we discussed it when the last time I was on before that Gordon match, those Gordon matches.
Yeah,
it was like, it would be cooler if Gordon won quickly, if he beat whomever in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I'll drag this match out 25 minutes and then do this submission that I picked. It's like, just blow them out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, that would make things more exciting. Like, oh,
the quick heel hook finish. Like,
definitively, like, number one. And he still is, but it's just like, it's the same thing with Gabi. If I see her, if she loses, that's actually more surprising. It's cool, but who was it? They've had 8 million matches.
Yanosaurus?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Like, I think that was the last person to beat her.
Was it Brown or no? I think
no, it was at black. It was at black belt.
But it's been a while.
But I think it was like,
I think it's been 3 years.
It's been a while since she's lost.
So regardless, again, not and Gabi Pessanha's the best woman in the world in the gi.
She played guard.
Weight
she played a dynamic guard. She took her time. She came up, swept, took the back.
She has
squeezed.
A monstrous choke with how fast Melissa Cueto tapped.
I don't think it was even under the
chin. It was just, but Melissa Cueto was like, yeah, I know what's up here. Yeah.
And I mean, great again, finish. Just awesome.
What I love about Pessanha's game here is that she is, again, as similar to Munis in kind of a way, where she gets to the guard and then she will force you, and not similar to Munis, but because Munis, I think, makes more opportunities. Pessanha will set up her guard and sort of just like wait like a spider and kind of like, cool, you are eventually going to tech up and start to stand to try to pass because I'm so strong here, you're not going to pass from the knees. You can't. You're going to tech up, you're going to stand, and then Pessanha's going to go, cool, now you've stood, now I have the grips I want, and now you're at range. And now you're trying to get back into the range of my guard, and I'm not going to let you because now I have the grips on. And you watch her with all of the women she faces. She does this. She plays the guard. She plays kind of slow, and then you'll tech up. She grabs the spider guard grips. She then starts fencing you at range. You get off balance as the top player, and she'll eventually get the sweep, get to top position, and then more so than not recently, immediately pathways to the back, gets the back, and just has a monstrous choke game. But it is so interesting how reliably she can pathway her opponents into this strategy. Like, we saw her.
I mean, she was playing lapel lasso a good chunk of this match too. So yeah, you can see her pathways, and she's like, this is where we're gonna go. All of you can think we're going anywhere else, but this is where we're going, and then I'm going to win.
Yeah, it is consistent. It is it's predictable, and I think the match that was kind of most interesting to me was watching her match with Amy Campo, the last crown or the crown before, because Campo's big, strong, imposing, and even her ability to like walk Campo into this problem was like, oh, if she can walk Campo, and this was when Campo was ADCC champ. If you can walk Campo into this problem, you can walk anyone in the world into this problem.
I'm interested to see if Age or somebody else that's kind of like her is what beats her.
Yeah, it will be another guard player, I think,
or just a phenomenal passer. Like somebody that's just like
somebody that's not going to accept. That's not going to let her get into the guard.
No, even it'll be somebody that just does not care. It'll be somebody that has such tremendous pressure and like forward momentum that eventually it will break her.
That's kind of like, but that's kind of what I thought like Campo was going to bring.
I don't think Campo has like
in her trials run like a man like
no, she looked great. Like don't get me wrong, this isn't a slight against Campo. I just don't think she has that amount of force and pressure to cause that issue in the gi
to Pessanha. Pessanha is a really interesting problem for everyone in these divisions, and she just again continues to win. She chokes Melissa Cueto Stricker in just over 6 minutes, half the match.
4 minutes.
Looked dominant.
6 minutes? Oh yeah.
They went like that. And then takes it. So again, is the back-to-back IBJJF Crown champion, back-to-back world champion, like
back-to-back everything.
Like good luck
winning.
Man. Good luck getting.
She is the
Gabi Pessanha.
She is the legit like queen.
Yeah, she is the new Gabi Garcia. If she shows up in your division, like she's going to win it. She has been winning it, and like it's a unique problem. So let's move on to my guy Adam Wardzinski. Again, I like Adam Wardzinski because he plays the butterfly guard and the X guard, which are the two things that I like. I've watched many hours of tape on Adam Wardzinski, especially when I was like more so developing my game early. Watched a lot of Adam Wardzinski and Marcelo Garcia. Adam Wardzinski plays actually a bit of a different game now than he used to. He has modified his game where he plays actually a lot less butterfly guard than he used to.
He shifted it. Like he shifted from being like mostly butterfly.
In his brown belt years, he was mostly butterfly, and then early black belt, and probably 2 or 3 years into black belt, we saw him really start to play like more into the X, more into the weight, or more lift guys up
half
more.
Guard. And then like half butterfly or half guard with the inserted foot, like whatever you want to call it. But like what's crazy is, and you see it a couple of times in the matches, Batista has that kind of like
Gustavo Batista versus Adam Wardzinski is the final here for men's heavyweight for the crown.
He has that like it's not necessarily a leg drag where the outside leg is over top and he's driving the inside leg through the middle, but Wardzinski, because he's playing that half butterfly, the lifting leg gets pushed forward, and Batista let's see, he was using his left leg. He uses his left leg to elevate. So Batista's right leg is driving through, and Adam's just like, okay, cool, whatever. He is not afraid of that position at all. And what he did for most of the match was just eat Batista's pressure. Like he was constantly coming forward, and he was just like lifting and tilting. And
this match Adam wins this match on one advantage. It was a very close match, and the landscape of this match was Wardzinski on the bottom in a half guard, half butterfly, and Gustavo Batista in a tech base, just pressuring forward and then laterally moving back, forth, forward and back, forth, forward and back. And that was like, it was Batista just trying to out pressure Adam Wardzinski like he used to be able to be out pressured. Like
it's not there anymore.
You used to be able to beat Adam Wardzinski like this. We saw Felipe Andrew do it. We saw a bunch of guys do it.
We still see Felipe Andrew do it, but the thing is, like, Wardzinski's like, nah, I'm not going to let that mentally beat me.
Yeah.
And he gets back. Again, he was down, what? He was down
11
in that match.
points or something? Well, he beat Felipe twice now.
And he's beaten him in that same fashion twice, where he was down such a significant amount of points and then turned it around.
Yeah. And just steamrolled.
And
like, we're seeing a new sort of age of Adam Wardzinski. Now it's the crown champion.
I think it's a mentality thing more than like a skill thing. Like, his skill was always there. He's always been supremely confident in his ability to recover guard and to sweep and just to mitigate all of the issues that he faces. But now I think like Batista, who is a wrecking ball of a competitor, is just like
world champion.
Yeah, but it's just like he didn't let anything get to him. And finally, as he starts to get through, he starts that little bit of elevation, goes
Wardzinski
into
starts from bottom and lifts and lifts.
And like X guards and kind of lifts and then pushes him forward a little bit and pops up out the back door and almost gets the back off of it. And Batista has the wherewithal to just be like, turn hard and hit the hip. And, you know, Wardzinski barely misses the back and then recovers and gets back to full guard for a little bit. They fight from there, and then it becomes again a fighting thing. And near the end, Batista's just like trucking, trying to flatten out Wardzinski. And that's another thing that Wardzinski is like not accepting anymore, is being flattened. He stayed on his side and kept that advantage.
And he kept the grip. He had a grip on Batista's inside leg to prevent Batista from being able to finish that knee cut. In the last like minute of the match, is Batista almost through on that cut, and Wardzinski just like, nah, son, we're gonna stay here. I have up one advantage, and I'm not going to let you get through.
That last 10 seconds where it was like, he could just get cross-faced and flattened out, and he was just like, nah, I'm up on my side, we're good.
And then Wardzinski takes the crown. Again, man, Wardzinski is entering an era I don't think
Wardzinski era.
we ever really thought he would. Always like Adam Wardzinski for years and years. He was always that like podium guy. He's there, he's good, but the top world level guys, like the 1 and 2 in that weight class, would always sort of figure out, okay, this is how you beat Adam Wardzinski. This is how you beat him. And then
always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
He's now made these little, not even changes to his game.
Beautiful.
But he's just, I think, that much more confident in his game, like almost like a Levi Jones Lear's way. It's like, hey, I am gonna play this. We're gonna play this game with me. There's not a choice. Like, we're gonna play this.
I'm not doing anything else. This is what we're doing.
Enjoy my A game that I've worked on for 15 years, and it's gonna be these 3 guards that I can cycle through better than anyone else in the world. I am extremely strong. I'm extremely flexible. I'm extremely mobile, and you're not going to get through. And if you are, I'm just going to keep coming into these things that I am so good at.
I'm going to sweep you and just pass directly into Mount.
Yeah. And he beats him. And Adam Wardzinski now is like, he is winning.
That guy.
He's winning more of these big tournaments.
Crown.
Yeah. That we didn't see him win before with regular basis. He's doing it. And I can't wait. Butterfly guard and X guard are valid guards still in today's modern age. Adam Wardzinski has some crazy attributes to allow him to do that, but it's awesome. And I'm super happy because I'm a huge. I don't get too fan on the show. I'm a huge Adam Wardzinski fan. He has had a huge effect on the amount of tapes that even before doing the show that I was watching over the years, and now it's finally like it can work at the highest levels, and he makes it work at the highest levels.
Do you think all of the power is in his hair?
He's like Samson, yeah, definitely.
Sick.
He's got that big flow. He's got all the metal tattoos and like. Having a great time. He's local. I think he's Virginia now. Yeah. You gave me the look. I'm also, yeah.
Really?
Somebody told me that. And I think
we talked about it.
Maybe.
Because there was
maybe
like
it's just
some
a dream
rumor.
I have that he's close to us now. And
that would be
there's
sick.
a possibility to like train with a dude and like watch him compete locally or potentially
beat
ever
the shit out of
commentate.
you.
Oh, he'd beat the shit out of me. Ever commentate a Wardzinski match. That's like the dream. I would love to commentate an Adam Wardzinski match. So, moving on, Adam Wardzinski takes the men's heavyweight division. Fan hour over for me. Next match, well, not really match. Next result we have is Andy Murasaki takes the
middleweight
crown. They have it listed here in the results under flow as Andy Murasaki defeats Tynan via default. It's Tynan allegedly broke his hand in the match prior and then couldn't compete.
He cannot catch a break anymore.
It is wild. Like 2 worlds in a row. He loses to Francisco Lowe via IBJJF Rule Picture 18. And then prior, he loses to an underhook via Jansen Gomez. And then here, he loses to a broken hand. It's like, he's like the best guy. We know he's the best guy. He can beat everyone. We've seen him beat everyone. But like at these big tentpole of like worlds, and like something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. It's really unfortunate. It doesn't seem like a trend, but it is definitely an interesting coincidence. One of those, if I had a nickel, I would have 2 nickels, but it's odd that it happened twice.
Man.
Yeah. Murasaki looked good this tournament. Daupro looked phenomenal this tournament.
He looked great, yeah.
I would love to see this match at a finals like this again.
Run it back.
Run it back.
Put the crown on the line.
That'd be kind of cool. It'd be cool if the crowns were like belts for IBJJF, and occasionally you could just have like you show up at the Charlotte Open and we'll fight for the crown here.
So I think it's just because there's such a catch-all weight.
You have to get close to the mic.
I don't
love you,
like
Josh.
to.
You have to. I know you have to get close.
You're
to
gonna
the
have to
mic.
get me a headset.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah. I got us better mics like a year ago, and then
And you were like, I got this arm thing, and it's like, I fidget and I
know.
can't sit still.
I know you do. 8 years of the show with you, and this is still
Come on now. How many times have you done this? Exactly.
like 7 times today, Josh.
Exactly. The weights are like all over the place when it comes to it's like we only have this many featherweight, middleweight, heavyweight, super or ultra heavyweight. It's like you have 4. So, Pato, we'll get into that in just a minute, but Pato's a light featherweight, although he said he was going to go up to featherweight now.
Which I'm kind of amped for. I'm kind of stoked. Like I'm packed for a diesel Pato to go to featherweight.
I just don't think he cuts.
I don't think he cuts either.
He might put on a little bit more weight.
I mean, he went to Who's and Run. He fought Dante at 155. Like, dude, I'll do it.
But yeah, like there's such a big swing, like you never know where it's going to be for that. But
I would love to see the crowns be on the line.
You have.
Sorry, I'm still on that in my head.
If you're a professional wrestling dork, it could be like Money in the Bank, where you have to carry around the briefcase all the time. They have to have the crown on them at all times, and then whoever challenges for it, that would actually
sanctioned IBJJF.
That would be actually pretty exciting. That would make gi competitions more exciting.
You gotta like cool. I'm at the North Carolina.
I'm at
the Tucson
up.
Open.
You fly across the country. You're like, I'm challenging this guy.
And then Tynan is like, I have to go to Tucson now.
No, it's not even there. It's like, oh, where's Tynan? Cool. I'm going to go to that competition.
All of a sudden, like Andy waves at Tynan, and then Tynan goes, here today.
The crown's here.
It doesn't after your weight class. You realize after he's already tired.
No, there's a specific time. Like it knocks you out of your weight class. You get like, they're like,
you get a bye to the finals anyway. You're
not
like,
even
you're
that.
for a crown.
They're just like, we're crowning.
Moving on. We have Janaina, a name that I, to this day, continue to mistake and mess up. Sorry about that. Versus Brianna St. Marie. This was an extremely close match. This was a little less close guard from Brianna St. Marie than we usually see, but still really, really great guard work from her. Overall, again, it ends via advantages. 3 advantages. I thought it was 2 advantages. They have the result here wrong, I think, to 1. Where Brianna St. Marie basically gets an almost...
She goes for the knee bar. She goes for a footlock. Janaina also went for a footlock.
I don't like the IBJJF straight ankle footlock advantage rule. Because it is...
like a lot of their rules now.
Yeah, we Josh and I had a little complaint session before the podcast about some of the rules. We had a double DQ earlier that we'll maybe talk about in a minute.
I don't even want to talk about that.
The IBJJF rules for footlocks, for like when they give an advantage for a submission or a close submission, are always subjective. When that's understandably subjective. Like I think it's actually
it all depends.
It's actually good to have it be a little subjective because it gives you the ability to be subjective when you score that. But the footlock one, when you have a mirrored footlock position and they're not extended, they're not bellied out, and I'm holding a footlock grip and like leaning back a little bit to score that an advantage, like I don't.
They should have to like. When you have a decent footlock and your training partner is like, I got to get out of here or I have to tap to this, that's where your advantage comes in.
Yeah.
But if you're just like pulling it, and that also depends too, because there are some people that just like, you have the meows that they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, here, you're going to crank it. And at that point, you can be like, oh, okay, like that's almost broken, but this person obviously doesn't care.
That's the subjectivity there. Subjectivity is good there. But for this one, and again, I don't want to harp on this too much, but I do think it is a feature that makes scoring in IBJJF specifically hard to understand and deal with from an athlete perspective. It is inconsistent when you grab that footlock grip for the straight ankle that Janaina gets her one advantage in this match from when they score an advantage and when they don't. Like we watched the sequence where she scored the advantage and Josh and I both went, okay, that's where she scores the advantage. Like that is, we saw plenty. Like you can have a partially extended armbar and not get an advantage for it, but you get this footlock grip and you kind of move around a little bit, you'll get an advantage. It is so inconsistent.
You get them to turn over.
Yeah, it is so inconsistent for how those advantages for near submissions and submission attempts are given. I would love it to be more consistently enforced. And honestly, I would love it to be harder to get. I would love it to be like, to get an advantage for a sub, like, you really have to be hunting it on that sub, and they have to be, like, defending or rolling, like, or moving out of that sub and, like, activate, hey, man, they've done anything else to get out of that sub, then you get an advantage. But for this, it's like...
I mean, it all depends.
Brianna didn't do anything, and then she, like, Jaina Maya kind of let go of the footlock eventually, and it was like, okay, that was a grip. That was a grip you used.
The knee bar wasn't really there either, so it's just like, here... You went for the attempt, so here it is.
But I think the knee bar, at least you have to change position as the attacker.
Well, yeah, sure.
And, like, you have to go, hey, I'm willing to change my position to go for this sub for the mirrored 50-50 ankle lock or the straight ankle lock on the same side. It is such a low barrier to entry, and that grip is used so commonly, especially, I mean, in men's and women's competition. I just don't think there's any merit to giving advantage there when you have that overhook grip on the ankle. There's so many other things you can be doing there. It's not necessarily indicative that you're not in a finishing position. You have a grip on the ankle. It's the same thing, like, you give an advantage for like a heavy overhook on a guy. Well, no. Can you tear the shoulder? Absolutely.
Sure.
But you're not going to give an advantage to a guy in a dogfight with heavy shoulder pressure. It's the same, in my eyes, it is the same amount of potential damage and injury and submission possibility as that overhook grip on the ankle.
And again, some people just don't give a shit.
Yeah, like, Paula Meow and Davis Cesare.
I mean, I'm like Z level talent, and if somebody grabs my foot, I'll sit there and stare at you. It's like I've got stubby legs.
Every time we train, you do that to me. I grab and you look at me like,
yeah, but
luck.
Like I suck. So that's besides the point. Some people can just eat that shit. So it's like there has to be a very definitive like outline of it, and the fact that it's like, well, here's this, and like advantages are dumb anyway.
I just think if you're gonna give an advantage for a footlock, you add another 6 pages to IBJJF rule. Not for footlock. You add another 6 pages to IBJJF, and you go, look, this is what your Trivigo Pata has to look like for an advantage. This is what your armbar has to look like for an advantage. This is what your knee bar has to. It's just like, just add them. Just if you're gonna score them anyway, there is criteria. Just outline. If your IBJJF rulebook is already 70 pages long,
clear criteria.
Just give you criteria. Like if you're gonna score it, it's a scoreable position. Just give the athletes, give the community. It's like your rulebook's already enormously long and hard and convoluted, and only the top coaches ever really get a good handle on it anyway.
Or weirdos that do podcasts for a really long time.
Hey, it's your boy Josh.
But I said weirdos. It's not just you.
It's not just me. It's the whole team, and I love it. So Brianna St. Marie basically has 2 different advantage series in this to Jaina Maya's. One, Brianna St. Marie looked very, very good from the guard. Obviously, that is the position that she plays from the most. We did see her play a little bit out more. She goes into a nice knee bar attempt. She goes into like a nice tech up and almost goes to the turtle into the back. And those are where she gets her 2 advantages. I think Maya on the top was definitely more aggressive, but Brianna St. Marie was able to play the points, was able to play the game properly, and get it done. And it's sort of an interesting dichotomy when we talk about Brianna's. I keep saying stay. It's pronounced Saint. It's pronounced Saint. We've done this for years. Brianna St. Marie. It's just the French pronounce. It's just the French spelling. It is pronounced Saint.
French Canadian.
Brianna St. Marie's game, she is very much on, not necessarily the defensive, but she will sort of counter and is very willing to counter your attempts for passing and for movement from the closed guard and from bottom position in order to get on top, in order to start working from there. And that was sort of the narrative in this match as well, was that Jaina Maya was on top, putting heavy pressure in, actively looking to pass on the outside, and Brianna was just maintaining the guard, coming through, and then when she got her opportunity, much like we see Gabi Pessanha do, like, cool, you work yourself into this almost passing position, and then Brianna, when the rubber meets the road for you to get that pass done, Brianna can counter you. She can put you to a hip. She can turn you to a leg. She can force you to have to readjust and then knock you over, and that is how we see her game constructed, and she is the best in the world at that style of game in these lower weight classes for women's lightweight. So Brianna St. Marie takes the women's lightweight crown. Very, very close match with Jaina Maya, with Janaína Maia. I think if this is no advantage, even score, I think Maia probably gets it for aggression on top.
Oh, yeah.
But Brianna St. Marie,
not the rules right
able
now,
to get those advantages, able to win. Again, close match, fun match. Moving on, this match is dope. This is Pato, though. We're on men's featherweight. Diego Pato
the second
versus
half of
João Mendes.
So,
the first, I forgot about the first. So, the first half was not dope.
João gets that advantage early on and just kind of not stalls it out, but is locking down Pato, and Pato can't get anything going for a good chunk of the match.
6 minutes, I think.
A little bit less than that.
I think it was about 6 minutes of Pato on the bottom.
He was
and
fighting
João
for
Mendes
it, but
just pressuring on top and kind of out grip fighting Pato.
Pato eventually gets the sweep. There's a lot of scrambling. Pato takes the back. You can hear the AOJ crowd losing it because they bring everybody and their mother.
Because it's local to them. The pyramid is very close to them based on geography that I have no idea about in hindsight, actually. I think it's LA, right? I think they're both in LA. Costa Mesa is LA, and the pyramid I think is in LA. Do you think after this many years that I would know that? I've never been to the pyramid. I think I've been to the pyramid. I've never been into the pyramid, but I've been to the pyramid. Regardless, AOJ rolls deep.
Yep.
And João Mendes is Atos, so it's two very local gyms.
Yeah. So you have an LA and
Wait,
I think
San Diego.
Yeah, and
They're
Costa
not
Mesa.
close.
Costa Mesa is also, I think, closer to San Diego.
There's San Diego, so
which
they're
is
not close at all.
Depending on traffic.
3 hours.
Depending.
Okay.
It's like an hour and a half with no traffic.
Let's talk about the match. Ignore our inability to understand geography in California because we're from the East Coast. Diego Pato versus João Mendes.
He goes on the back, and I need a slow motion and a zoomed in angle of where his hands were for that collar choke finish from the back.
Dude, it was Pato, from what I saw, for the finish, had fingertip levels on João Mendes' gi, and then you see kind of the lapel come up over the top, and you're he has a thought of a grip here, and it's enough to get this choke in. Again, I wish it was a little brighter. I wish there was a better camera. We see the hand angle you need to see. It's just really hard to see. This has to be the least amount of grip that anyone has ever had in a major final.
So we think. I mean, he could have some brutal grip that we just missed.
But it just looked like he just barely had. I mean, he had enough, obviously, to
when
get the
I
choke.
first saw it, I was like, how did he choke him? Where's his hand?
Maybe a zipper choke or something, or a variation.
I didn't see it at first. It wasn't until the second go through. I was like, oh, he's got something.
It's it's a bow and arrow choke. It's a modified bow and arrow choke, but he's higher up on the body, and he's punched over.
Doesn't have the leg at all.
Yeah, modified bow and arrow choke, Josh. The modified piece, he deals with all of those things he doesn't have.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. Modified collar choke, bow and arrow from the back. Pato's phenomenal.
It was actually an armbar on his neck.
Sure it was. Essentially. Yeah. Pato takes the crown here. I want to talk about, so this was good. It was a good match. Sorry, it was not a good match. The last 2 minutes are really exciting. But there was about 6 minutes of them.
It was not a good
There was about 6 minutes of them mucking around on the guard that was a little slow for my taste. That is just a fact of IBJJF gi. AJP has really good gi rules. IBJJF gi that allows you to muck around in the guard at no pace.
Except for when you double DQ.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about two matches first. I want to talk about Pato's run because Pato's semifinal match was against Shane Jamil Taylor, IBJJF World Champion from 2018.
Yep.
Looked it up because we both had the years wrong. He outpointed Shane 18-0. We have never seen any. We've seen Shane submitted.
Swept. Passed and mounted. Right?
Back take.
Boom. There's more than that.
There's more than that.
Because pass and mount is 7, and then sweep is 2. That's 9. So where are the other 9 points? Exactly.
Yeah.
He was all over the place. He was just all over him. And it really, it went downhill for Shane when he was going for, gubber guard, and his one leg was trapped.
Because Pato just rubber guard is basically rubber guard, but with the gi. Shane has his leg across Diego Pato's shoulders, and then his same side lapel is underhooked under the leg, and it allows you to reinforce your leg and essentially not need to reach up so high. It takes a little bit of stress off your knee, but not much, especially with it. Shane was doing it really, really squared up to Pato. Pato, you saw him realize this and go, oh, cool. Like, I can just kind of camp here because you don't have the flexibility to pull your leg over for, like, what Benetti can do and, like, what Martinez can do for, like, Hill guillotines.
I don't think that really had anything to do with it. I think it more so had to do with his leg being completely isolated. I think Pato could have dog-barred him.
Yeah, that was my question, too. We watched it together after, and the position that Pato's in, he's low enough on Shane's hips where it looks like he could have his legs under, but I think to do that, Shane would be able to possibly sweep over as Pato goes to extend.
Maybe
because
his
Shane has really
leg was
mobile
just
hips.
So extended.
Yeah.
I mean, he passed, so it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was we have never seen someone be able to put up this amount of points on Shane. It was striking, and it kind of shows you like what a couple of years of like development, and Shane's had a whole host of injuries over the years, and like really where the landscape is. Like Pato is like the new featherweight king, and it's crazy to just watch how good and how just really he was. Shane is notorious for entangling guys over and over and over again, and not like you never are able to get ahead of where he's entangling you. Pato never let Shane really fully entangle him with the lasso guards and the loop guards and all of the guards that Shane is very famous for playing. Pato just was able to get through him and then able to pass and then able to rack up a huge amount of points. Josh, you've highlighted something here.
I did on purpose because I completely forgot about that, and because of what happened in the heavyweight match between Patrick Gaudio and Ryder Zucchi, where they got double DQ'd for inactivity.
Which means
Batista
4 penalties for inactivity in a 10-minute match.
Went from the first match to the finals.
Oh, yeah, he skipped the center one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... And I mean, Wierzynski beat Mateus Pirandelli via points,
and then he submitted Orlando Montero.
Yeah, in the first one. But yeah, Patrick Gaudio and Ryder Zucchi, I'll talk about it a little bit.
They didn't do nothing.
It was a slow match, and then at the end, the 4th penalty, they're basically sitting in the same position for 20 seconds, and then at like 21 seconds, Gaudio goes for a sweep over, but they've already sort of initiated the disqualification for both guys. This happens way more in IBJJF in big tournaments than it should. And it kind of is just a fact of how IBJJF has designed their rules to allow the margin for how slow you can play to get like this. And it's a problem. It's continuing to be a problem. It should never be happening at an event of this caliber. Like, imagine ADCC, like, your quarterfinals for ADCC, someone's getting double DQ'd for inactivity. Like, that would never, like, the penalty structure, there are problems in the way that IBJJF has this done. It is odd to see double DQs in showcase matchups and showcase tournaments like this. IBJJF runs, like, 4 paid tournaments a year, like, pro tournaments a year. To see a double DQ like this is just, like, it's...
Don't invite those dudes back.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Let's see. What else do we have? There was a whole host of matches. We had a bunch of different 8-man, 8-woman tournaments here happening simultaneously. John Mendes in the first round beat Cabrera Jr. via advantage. Very close match.
This has also been going on since 2:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, it was an extremely long event. They ran one or 2 mats the entire time. I would love to see the Crown be like one division at a time, run once a month. I would love that. These are just painfully long to watch for the pacing for this many 10-minute matches.
Getting submissions
yeah. The finals were great. That's kind of why I want to start with the finals, because most of what we had a lot more finals than in the other rounds.
That's what you were looking for, by the way.
Yeah, they were okay in men's feather. So it was the third place match. That makes sense. Okay. Earlier in the day, Josh and I were talking about, I watched Shane get get Aoki locked, and I thought it was in an earlier round. It was in the third place match. Amir Barreto defeated him with an Aoki lock. That was so. Thank you, Josh, for pointing that out. But yeah, these are painfully long events to watch in the Crown format, in an IBJJF format. They're probably IBJJF. We've talked about it for years. I'll have to shut on IBJJF more. Because I am happy that they're running paid events. I'm happy that they showcase the highest level in the gi, but the events from a spectator perspective are pretty painful to watch because of the way that the rules are configured. They're very much a rule set that is for a very specific kind of jiu-jitsu at a very specific pace at the black belt level, especially because you have 10 minutes to work. And they're very hesitant to change a lot of that to make it better for spectators, especially for events like this that are meant to be showcase events. I would love them to have a modified rule set that would allow for some activity and more showcase of game to
even like
be
7
present.
minutes.
I think 6 minutes is the best.
AJP
went to 6 minutes. That's phenomenal. I think what ADCC does is great. You know, you're 3-3 and then your extra 3 if you need it, or you're 4-4 and your extra 4 if you need it, and then in your huge, like your trials finals or your world championship level or your world finals, like there's a couple of those matches a year. You bump them up, by another 2 minutes or by another factor of a couple of minutes. I think it's great, but all of these matches to all be 10 minutes for every single round, it makes for a very, very long event if you want to watch these matches. And again, these athletes deserve you to watch their matches because they're phenomenal practitioners and some really interesting stuff here. But it becomes untenable for even us doing this show and the average person to watch, like every person that we talked to tonight at the gym that watched, like, I caught some of it. Because it is just such an enormously long event, you can't watch it.
I don't have 8 hours on a Sunday to focus just specifically on this.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, this doesn't have the pull of like an ADCC to where it's like,
hey man, 2 days every 2 years, I'm busy. I'm busy for 2 days every 2 years. I'll be there.
I have never not been at work on day 1 of ADCC and still not had it at least playing and keeping an eye on it while I was working. But like, this isn't something I would do that for.
Yeah, it's very long. So that's the Crown. That's Matt. The end. Some of the finals were fun. Go back and watch some of those finals. Again, I would love to walk through some of these later. I'll probably in my own time go back and watch through a lot of the matches. Flow does have all the matches parted out in their results page, which is phenomenal. Some of the timestamps are bad and miss some parts of the matches. Some of them are in English commentary, some of them are in Portuguese commentary. That's sort of what we expect from Flow at this point. It's been this way for almost 10 years now, and it continues to kind of be this way. But it is parted out, so you don't actually have to go through the entire video of like the 8-hour event. It is parted out, so I do appreciate that because that is not normally the case for a lot of these Flow matches. So I'm happy that they're doing that there. Josh, any kind of closing thoughts on the Crown? Other than any additional thoughts for the Crown here?
No.
Cool.
No. Like, again, just try to make it more exciting. Get the lighting better. Or better cameras, whatever. Move it along.
Yeah, pacing's tough. So next week we have Subversion Conquest. That's the event in Australia that we love covering. Main event by Declan Moody versus Nicholas I can never get his name. I was gonna say it real quick and Maglisis, something. I can never get his last name. Declan's awesome. I think he is there.
It's for an interim heavyweight title bout. Somebody else.
Josh Saunders is their heavyweight champion, and I think this would be the guy that faced Saunders. Again, Declan Moody is a guy at a B team. Really interesting guy. Gives really good interviews. I've actually watched a couple of his interviews last week. Really interesting mind for the game. And I think Miranda actually took a class with him when she was down there at B team. He says, like, he's really good. He's like a really good instructor. So that was interesting to kind of get her feedback on that. He's the main event for that. They have a co-main. They have some other featured bouts. They also have a wrestling takedown exhibition match, which is 2 of the best freestyle wrestlers currently out of Australia.
Currently in Australia.
Oh, currently in Australia, sorry.
As you can see, that Jacob is from Slovakia, and Suchika, or
Suchika.
Oh no,
Simo Yamada. Suzukiya Simo Yamada is from Japan.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun again. I like when grappling tournaments have like a one-off match where it's like, hey, we're gonna have one of these, and it's like an interesting showcase match, because exhibition showcase matches bringing in other martial arts are fun when they are against two guys in that discipline. When you do like wrestler versus jiu-jitsu guy, I don't really care, but I like when events bring in cool like other sports, like for a judo match or a wrestling match. It's like, I appreciate this. Is also just a takedown exhibition match, which are fun. Which is my favorite wrestling exhibition matches are takedown exhibition matches.
Well,
so
here's the thing: it's freestyle. Freestyle is like it can be more exciting and it can end so quickly. So, yeah, it's cool, something to watch. It's next week.
Yep. So that's all we got going on. Next week we'll probably cover ADXC. Again, when we're still recording it's still going on. Main character I think is still going on. It's over. Okay, it finally just finished. So we'll cover all of that next week. Josh, anything going on for you this week?
No, I'm finally back to training. My knee was jacked up for a while.
Me too.
You're always hurt.
I am. I have a blown eardrum right now. It's great. I can't hear anything out of the side that you're sitting on, which I just love.
I don't believe that for a second. You've constantly pushed this back into my face.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the waveforms, Josh.
Yeah.
I realized that usually it heals in it happens every 3 years to me. Usually it is like a week and a half heal. It's not healing up this time, and so I looked it up. It's like, it's like 3 to 6 minutes. It's 3 to 6 weeks. I went, cool. Everything sounds like TV static. Inside in this, and I feel like I'm in a tunnel is really what it feels like, because this eardrum is like really loud because it works, and this one is like weirdly muffled in an odd way. It's like I've described it all week as being in a tunnel with no Wi-Fi is what it feels like.
The hearing in my left ear is shot. Like, I can hear out of it, just not great, and it's been that way for years. You just get used to it. Yeah, I'm getting used to it slowly. So that's been my week, but. I don't think it's anything else really fun going on. Training.
My father-in-law's in town. He's going to help me build out the podcast setup and studio, so I'm excited.
That's part of the reason why
we coerced him into staying a couple extra days.
Stay here and help me do manual labor.
Rachel was like, you stay a couple days. She's like, I don't know. She's like, we bought a new bed for you to stay in here. And he's like, I guess I'll stay. But I love my father-in-law. That's awesome. It's great to have him in town.
It was funny when I walked in. It's just like, hey, minister. And I was like, hi.
Oh, yeah. For people that don't know, Josh married Rachel and I. And so like he was the officiant at the wedding. And so that is how my father-in-law knows Josh is from the wedding. It's like, oh, this guy. And also does the podcast for the last 8 years with me.
Yeah.
So that's all I got going on. It's fun. Also, again, I love having my family in town, so that's great. My wife's back from her trip to go get her father, bring him down here, so
we can build out the studio,
build out the podcast studio. I'm excited. I have a stack of lumber.
This is clean right now. When I walk down here, holy moly, yeah, there was a lot of crap everywhere.
So very, very excited to get that started and done. I'm just amped. It's great. Everything's great going out. I'm having a great time, Josh. Things are going great. And anything else?
No.
As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine. So my co-host,
Josh.
And we got the Grappling Reruns. So Matt, what it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.